Hello and welcome to our show, Midwest Weekly, starring myself, Hairwiz, and my co-host CLT, where I managed to miss 2 weeks of action, so here we are to recap both quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals for you. With that said, we should probably dive in as quickly as possible, but this isn't going to be as an extreme version as usual, where we are actually recapping as in depth each series by series. Again, apologies as we are not trying to miss out on any of the games here. It's more just due to time. There was some stuff that came up in those 2 weeks, a lot of weird things going on. I was sick, CLT was sick, scheduling conflicts. It was tough. But with that being said, we are going to go into the episode. Expect us to kind of recap a little quicker on each of the series up to the finals, as we will try to go more in depth in finals. But specifically, quarters, we had 4 matchups. I don't expect to touch on each of them as in depth. Those, though, again, aren't ignoring them. Just not going to be as in depth. We also have semis. We are going to touch on those as well. And then we will get to the, what do they say, coup de grace, the main dish of the episode, which is the finals. So, with all that being said, we are going to be getting here into the episode now. And I'm going to go ahead and ask CLT how he is doing.
Yo, what's up? Uh, Thanks for having me. The day's been going pretty good. I can't complain. You know, playoffs were good to everybody. Battled the flu, came back. We're hanging in there. So
Yeah, and like I said in the intro, we missing those 2 weeks. I feel bad, guys. That shouldn't have happened. It's part of my own fault. I told CLT, let's take the week off since everybody the semifinals matchups got pushed back. We shouldn't have done it. We should have just recorded because literally right after that, everything just hit the fan for 2 weeks. Like I said, we had scheduling issues between me and him. I was sick, then he was sick. It was just one big mess. So lesson learned. If this ever happens again, we just do it. But
let's do it.
yeah, just do it. So with that being said, let's just do it and get in. Hopefully, I don't get hit with like a trademark on that one. Let's get into the first of the quarterfinals here, which was the coin flip versus peanut butter and J matchup. Um, the coin flip was a great story. Obviously, coming in that they just joined the league, they were undefeated. We thought maybe this is where they drop a game, but no. The other great story was the PB&J, and they were not able to take a game off of a coin flip. But it was a very good series, well played by both teams, I think. But PB&J just did not have a lot left in the tank to really pull it off. Their gross victory was very very impressive. The previous week in the wild card round, but yeah, it just seemed like they kind of ran out of gas. They really didn't have an answer for at the time we all thought was basically the best team in the league. So, what was kind of your take, a quick take from like the drafts or maybe the series overall that you saw? CLT.
um, so the series overall was a pretty good one. I think this kind of highlighted the battle of the top side of the map. As we know, Brandino has an absolute mechanical player. He's performed well on stuff like Mbessa and Aurelia, which came to play in this series. But then likewise, PB&J, Darkhound, and Keppo have been the standout like mid jungle duo um, throughout the whole season. So this game one, they both teams I think got what they wanted for the most part, and it became just a battle of solo laners. Brandino had a really good pop off game with the TP Ignite, and Bessa 7-1 and 7 stood out. But looking at just the damage profile, especially for coin flip, when you have 4 guys that have 20% damage, like that's a full team effort there. So the game one, the solo laners of coin flip really came to play.
Yeah, and I think the other things to note, like Geopower wasn't even like playing anything crazy in the series. Did he play back-to-back Leona games? I know.
He did, yes.
Yeah, I mean it was very standard draft from CoinFlip, like not something you would anticipate. The one thing of note, and they kind of talked about this, I think if I remember correctly when we interviewed them, was that Krieger is a Talia one trick, and they let that through. I could have sworn that was a thing, if I remember correctly, right? And so like it was so interesting um, to see that get let through, and I believe that was let through twice as well, right? If I'm not correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
Yes.
performed super well. I mean, it was certainly the Krieger show, but it almost makes you wonder if they pulled it out a little too early. Like maybe everyone knew it was the one trick, but they hadn't really seen a lot of it. So maybe if they kind of held it, um, maybe they can get it through in semis. And I don't know if it got played or not. Well, I mean, we're gonna find out when we get there. But that's one of those things. Like maybe you just kind of hold on to that pick, because I do think overall, based on what we saw in the series, they were the better team than PB&J. But man, I mean, again, PB&J they came to play. Kiepo had opportunities. I mean, he got himself pretty ahead on the Syndra in game one. Um, and so he was kind of like that factor. Like you thought maybe he could keep them in the games, um, but unfortunately they weren't able to find that. Darkhound I think struggled for the first time in pretty much all of the split where he really wasn't able to really find his spots. And though the bot lane held their own, it ended up just not being enough. And really sad we didn't get to see Swum back in there. Obviously he was out, but Matthias was absolutely popping off uh, in the series as well. So it was a fun thing to cast. It was I think me and Zero Staya's first series together casting. He came in, so it was a great time to cast with him. But yeah, that was pretty much that series. And Coin Flip ended up 2-0ing it. They weren't that quick of games. The first game was 28 minutes, and the second one was 35 minutes. So like they were definitely drawn out, but there just wasn't enough to really take off there. But it was close. It was certainly close. But yeah, so if there's anything else you wanted to note about this series before I kind of just jump into the second matchup here.
No, no, I think PB&J had a really solid season overall, and I think even though they got 2-0 this series, they showed why they deserve to be, in the playoffs, and they had a really, really good standout season.
Yeah, no, it was a beautiful story. I'm so happy again that we got to see a team that originally was out of the playoffs, but certainly looked good in that Group B, get another opportunity and make the best of it. So I was super happy with that. And I'm hoping that we can continue to have these types of stories in our league. The underdog is always a great thing to watch, but sometimes again you go against a gauntlet, and you just don't have enough. So, and that was what CoinFlip was. They were part of that gauntlet. All right. Well, I will go ahead and jump over to the next series, which this is one of our finalists here. So they're kind of maybe go a little more into this one, but this is TK Benchers vs Scorch, and this was our only full 3-game series of that weekend. Um, you know, Scorch they put up a fight. They definitely did put up a fight, but um, Scorch is they're always so close. They're always so close to making that run, winning it all. They were runners up the previous split, and again here you think they're turning it on. They're becoming the team they need to be, and they looked really good against Benchers. And man, you're trying to grab that brass ring, man, but it evades you, right? It's the worst feeling in the world because you know you're capable of doing it. You know you're capable of winning, but it just doesn't come through. But yeah, I'll let you take over, kind of talk about this. I know you casted this if I remember correctly, right?
I believe I did. Yeah, it's been so long, my friend. No, this was you and Justai as well,
Oh
I
yeah,
believe.
that's right. I did cast it. See, I don't even remember which ones I casted. It's
Bro,
funny.
it's been a
It's
long February.
yeah, it has.
So,
Um, but
but
yeah,
yeah, we can go into this a little bit. Scorch has always been a pretty creative team, and they've got an access to a lot of variety and a lot of roles. Um, so the fact that this first game they can bust out something like Boonstra on Seraphine, which is, fairly standard mage in the bot lane, but Banana Soar being really proficient at these poke and artillery mages, like he pulled out the Zareth. This is the first Vel'Koz, I think the only Vel'Koz we actually seen this whole split.
yep,
Um, they really took it to TK Benchers this game, and they, for the most part, they even though they lost this game, they had a gold lead during the whole game. It was just a dragon fight that Pang ended up backdooring, and Chingy with the ult backdoored this the Nexus after a push here that really puts Scorch behind here. So I could almost argue they should have won this game one.
Yeah, it was
Through.
tight. I remember
Yeah.
that now that you bring it up too. It was crazy ending. Um,
uh,
I like to point out too, Chengi on the Pantheon. Like I think people are catching on the Pantheon a little earlier than even some of the pro scene. It felt like at this point, becoming active with this pick. I loved it. I was happy to see it. I'm a big Pantheon jungle enjoyer. I think the champion's been good for a while, not just now. Um, but now he's gotten a bit more love. Obviously, we're seeing him in the support role too, as of recently. Wasn't I don't recall him being played in the split support really at all.
I don't think so. No.
But yeah, Chengi's the only person I can think of that actually pulled this out, and I think it's a great pick and a great champion. It's pretty solid in the J4. It was a good matchup. J4 did kind of give it a lead, but I mean it's Rusty. He's gonna do what Rusty's gonna do. It's hard to keep
hmm
that guy down in any game. But
And
yeah, what were
it's
you
hard to
gonna say?
keep Scorch down in general. I mean, they
Yeah,
had three mid lane throw subs throughout the whole season, making the quarters.
yeah, and the thing was too that what I loved about this draft was that you had J4, Vel'Koz, Seraphine, and the Galio together. It's such a nice draft, bro. Like
hmm
obviously you got your AD coming from Ares, but how we're talking about a perfect team fight.
I mean, into something like a Braum, Caitlyn, Azir. This is the perfect draft that you want because there's just not there's not enough peel from those champions, and then when you have something like Maokai Pantheon, they're not providing any more additional peel. I mean, that's a boatload of engage with a lot of AP damage coming up top as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I
hmm
mean, like you said, that's game one. It was just a crazy game, and the way it ended. Like I said, I forgot about the ending, but man, I remember now, and it was wild because we're kind of just like going, we're watching Tang backdoor. The team fight's going in favor of blue side. You know, Scorch is winning the fight, but like it did not matter. And Pantheon got that sneaky little Skyfall on there, and I was all she wrote.
hmm
And luckily, Afterpack was able to stop some resets, which did help a lot too. Uh, but yeah, really, really great game one.
hmm
Um, we could dive in a little bit of game two. I think this series was probably I mean, without question, probably the best of the weekend, that quarterfinals weekend. Um, and this was the game two where Scorch won. Rusty was
Yep.
absolutely unbelievable on the Mumu. You had the Kale, which you don't see often, but man, the Kale did work. I mean, it was 37% of the team's damage. I mean, it was insane. And then Boomstrip was just chilling on the Syndra bot while we had Corky mid. So we had everything you needed. All the damage spread was there. Another tank Galio game out of Calico, which was really nice to see some diversity there from Calico. Maybe not something she generally likes to play, but man, she whipped it out, and it was a great time to do so again. It worked well with the Amumu engage. It also kept the carries safe if, you know, Jin Zhao dove in. Um, but yeah, what's your kind of thoughts here on this next game? Since we're jumping into it a little bit.
I thought, especially looking at draft wise, I thought again this is another really creative draft by Scorch. I mean, the Kale is not something you see that often. Quirky and Syndra kind of being interchangeable between Banana and Boonstra. We know Boonstra's really proficient at the Syndra. So overall, I felt like this is again Scorched used this draft to their advantage, being very flexible, and TK I just don't think had enough tools and enough honestly range. I know you have Ashe Morgana that can chain CC quite a bit, but there's just overall uh, what range you have is a lot of single target outside of Aurora. So it made the game much easier for Ares to play, especially once he got ahead on this Kale. And then yeah, they just ended up getting to the late game and Kale just be a monster.
Yeah, absolutely. And that a lot of times, like if you can allow a champion like Kale to scale, man, your chance of winning are really high, especially in a competitive environment. There's a reason why she's not picked often. It's because the requirement for her to win a game is astronomically high. But again, if you can get there, reap the benefits. It's pretty much a free victory after like 30 minutes. Uh,
Mhm.
so, um, and that's kind of basically what happened. But you are correct about the range. I mean, Ash Morgana is not really high range, um, and certainly Aurora isn't. But that's your range right there. So after that,
Yeah.
like where's it at? So you have all these mid range carries into Corki Syndra who have really good range, and then even though Kale's range isn't even crazy, even at 16 really isn't like people over exaggerate her 16 in terms of that. It's not that nuts. I mean, she can get outranged by tons of champions still, even at that point. But it's gonna be fine to something like Ash and Aurora for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I just think overall, because they're so mid to short range, especially equal range to Syndra, the moment somebody dives in that's not Xin Zhao, like you're eating CC from Calico doubled up with Boonstra, you're in Rusty's engage range, like you're trying to go button for button in the Scorch's comp, and they just have more buttons and
yeah,
better scaling.
absolutely. But yeah, so after this really nice win here by Scorch, we did get the game three, and game three was the I was confused why there wasn't a Nasus in my game moment. That was the most confusing thing for me. But also, this LeBlanc pick was absolutely just running rampant. Tang was just disgusting on the LeBlanc. It was pretty much just the LeBlanc show. Like everybody else just did not matter. We did see like Victor Apple pull out, Siley support. That was cool to see. But really, it was just LeBlanc was just doing it. She was doing work, and it was the work that was not good for Scorch. Um, though they were able to kind of stay in it and fight back a bit, it wasn't really enough. What was your kind of take on the game, or did you kind of catch any of it?
I did catch a little bit of it. And it definitely felt like once this LeBlanc got off the ground, she was able to get around the map. I do agree with the point about the Nasus. I felt like if you're going to go a double AP carry thing with a Mumu, which is very highly effective, a Mumu amplifying magic damage, it felt like you needed something with a lot more CC to help lock down the LeBlanc because Lissandra brings a boatload of CC, but she can't be the only source of CC. And I know Mumu's there, but he wants to conserve his CC as like more of engagement. So if there would have been just a few more like CC buttons coming out of either like a tank or even if you're going like Nasus top, then I think Calico could have went like a definitely a Braum or even stuck with the Galio a little bit would have helped out. I do get the logic behind the Nami Syndra. We seen it pop off last year about this time going into playoffs, and we know Boonstra and Calico are really confident in this lane.
Yeah,
But it just felt like it just became really hard to lock down LeBlanc. I know Lissandra is an answer to it, but it can't be like the only answer.
yeah, I 100% agree with everything you said, except for one part. Except for one part, I do think they have enough CC for LeBlanc. Lissandra's great in LeBlanc. WR, she just should pop realistically. I don't think Syndra's even bad in LeBlanc, by the way. There's enough CC for the LeBlanc. I just think LeBlanc got fed, and like Tang was just really playing out of his mind on the pick. Um,
Oh yeah, Tang had a
yeah,
pop-off game for
yeah.
sure.
So Scorch, they kind of felt like as weird as it was. It kind of felt like the sales kind of went flat in Game Three. But I do remember kind of talking to Scorch a little bit, and I don't want to go into crazy stuff, but I know that they said they wish they would have maybe went more of an 80 bot instead. That they felt like they kind of loaded up on that AP, especially with the Nasus. Um, and I do think that would have been something that might have saved it a bit. I don't really think LeBlanc is needed there. I mean, not LeBlanc. I'm sorry, Syndra is needed there. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, at the end of the day, you kind of you face a powerhouse, undoubtedly so. I mean, Benchers, they made it to the finals for a reason. They're a very very good team. So to be able to push them to a game three here and make them sweat all series and nearly 2-0 them for that matter,
Yep.
that should show enough in itself. But yeah, it was a great fun series to watch. Definitely, like I said, probably the best of the weekend.
And they're
Yeah.
the only team to actually take games off of both gamers and TK benchers, both TK teams, I believe.
If that's true, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they were in Group A with myself and and TK Gamers, and they took TK Gamers 2-1, and then against Benchers, they went 2-1.
So nobody else played them and took games off them.
I, I
Both of
don't think
them.
anybody I don't think anybody else played both of them. There might have been one other team. Oh, Coin Flip. Coin Flip played both of them. So, but yeah, Coin Flip took games off of both of them.
Well, there it is. So there's only
But
two
but yeah,
teams.
Scorch, yep, Scorch and Coin Flip are the only two that take games off both TK teams.
Nice. Well, speaking of the other TK team, and speaking of not being able to take games off of a team, why don't we jump into Instinct CK versus TK Gamers? Um, where is that on my lovely YouTube? Must find it. But yeah, let's talk about that. COT. I'll let you kind of lead us off a bit here.
I To be perfectly honest, this is one of the ones I did not catch a majority of. But looking at kind of what I'm seeing on Battlefly, it looks like the TK Gamer squad, uh, was firing on all cylinders here. We've seen them perform really well. They brought out both Mbessa and Mel, the Mbessa mid, Mel bot lane, which we'll talk about the Mel bot lane definitely a lot more in depth because this TK Gamers team played that quite a bit.
Yeah. By the way, you casted the series.
I did. Oh my God, it's been a long February, man.
It's okay. He doesn't
Uh,
remember. Maybe just watch a little bit of the clip and then you'll recall. Because I'm looking here and I'm like, I know I didn't cast this one for sure. Um,
no, this was definitely me.
yes.
I think this was one of the first quarterfinals that might have been played, which is why I'm struggling
Struggling to remember.
to remember. Yeah.
Well, if it helps your memory, this was the Bori show I think on Mel.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking at this now. This was don't let Bori get Mel, guys. Like this he just has an affinity for these champions. I know he plays mid every now and then and flex with his group. So he definitely doesn't mind mage play, so
Yeah, and we
but
had both mother daughter in here too. I mean, we had Mbessa and
mhm.
Mel. So I will say that
Just
the interesting thing about this game, and I'm looking at it, and I kind of remember catching something of this because I'm kind of recalling something about this here was the lane swapping. It was something interesting that gamers actually were doing ahead of everybody in the league, pretty much. I don't recall really anybody else doing it, and
yeah, I
they
don't think
really started it here.
yeah,
So
there's a big play here at around the 22nd minute mark where it looks like they're trying to fight for the soul point and Bori just is kind of left untouched in this team fight and TK Gamers ends up getting the soul um and actually no they TP back and kind of like pseudo backdoor this game one here. But looking at the score lines, yeah, Good Boy put up a fight here on this Azir mid, but the rest of the TK Gamer squad just performed really well. I like this Zyra here by Poke Archer. I think this is kind of underrated.
yeah, it's been picked into Wukong a decent amount, even in the pro scene. So clearly, it seems to be a bit of a counter pick into the Wukong. I can see where the angle is. Um, pretty annoying champion to deal with in general, but it's also pretty susceptible. Um, but yeah, looking back at that fight, I mean, man, good boy had a crazy engage on the Azir into a really nice pop blossom on Don Don. It just wasn't enough, and then like you said, the kind of the pseudo backdoor after that. But I mean, Instinct CK were legit all split, man.
Yeah.
They were to me going into playoffs like I was wanting almost to put them number one in my power rankings over Coin Flip because I did believe they were just that good at the time. But again, they went against another really good team, and sometimes you just don't have enough to really stop it. Sometimes just teams are just that it's destiny. Um, and to point out, this gamers team was I think a 7 seed right coming in, so um, I mean they're putting on a clinic and putting on a show in these playoffs. So, which we can kind of do a little bit of game two here. What was your kind of take on this game two, if you kind of had one?
Game two kind of similar to what you were commenting on game one, it's like this lane swap looks like it threw Instinct off a little bit, like they couldn't match up. You had Bori starting top lane and then come in mid here, which kind of let Relentless be able to walk around the map, and uh, they just got off to a really good start. Instinct looks like they battled back with a few kills here, uh, but overall there just a lot of tempo that they had to match. Um, Looking at it draft, I didn't mean to kind of skip over that, but I mean we see standby on this Riven again. I think he's pulled this out 2 or 3 times now, and he's not afraid to play these mechanical champions, especially something like Riven.
Yeah, and Arctic was playing well into the Riven on the Volibear, and I think it's a pretty good matchup for Volley. But eventually, Riven's gonna outscale, so that kind of
Mm.
became the problem as Riven kind of got kills.
Yeah, I just felt like kind of looking back at this, there was a decent 1v1 here at about the 10.5 minute mark where Standby held his ground and actually was able to face tank a lot of what Arctic had. Just looking at the build, I understand that AP is like really valuable on Volibear, but I think your goal in here is diving with Viego, or at least being able to just CC people after the Blitzcrank hook to get Viego going on the possessions. So I'm not sure if going like full AP glass cannon, especially early in this game, when they get off to when gamers gets off to a pretty good start, is really like using your advantage there. So I think you definitely need something that wants to front line a little bit better for Victor Corky.
Yeah, no, definitely. I fully agree with that sentiment. But yeah, I mean, overall, like you just look at it, and I think them being like, it's not that they're the pioneers of this. It's not like it hasn't been done before. It's not like it wasn't being done in the pro scene, but kind of being the pioneers of this in our league specifically. This kind of lane swapping, doing a lot of movement. It really affected a lot of teams that kind of went against it, and certainly here it messed with Instinct CK a bit. Um, and they didn't really know how to deal with it as much. They certainly fought back, like you said. They definitely had moments, but a little behind the curve here, and they got punished here in this series for it. But with
Yeah.
that said, last but not least is going to be the small brain no mechanics versus load the cannons matchup, which I know you were looking forward to. I was looking forward to playing. It did not go the way that me and my team certainly planned. Um, but one thing that hasn't changed for me, and I don't really care. I still do believe that me and Zema are one of the best mid jungle duos in the league, so I'm not really worried about that. Win or lose, that's not changing for me. But all respects to Lodi Cannons when they beat us. I told them that after the match, congratulations and everything. So that was never a problem. Um, but it was still a fun series to play, and I certainly didn't feel like we were completely out of it. It was definitely close. Um, but this is another one that features two teams that did not make it to the finals. But I mean, we could kind of touch on it a little bit. I won't go as in depth as the other two. But yeah, I mean, what was your kind of take, I guess, real quick, if you want to talk about the couple games here?
Uh, my take. I mean, like you mentioned, this was probably the series I was the most excited for. And you had two legacy teams with a lot of talent littered across both teams. That this series was going to be nothing but excitement. This game one, we seen something out of Load the Cannons that I wouldn't have expected from them, and that was this kind of asol mid out of Eureka. He doesn't really strike me as a player that'll play these like scaling champions and kind of I just call them more of like backseat champions in a sense of like, you don't your ability to affect the game, especially in the early part, is very limited. So you just kind of take this back seat and you put a lot of burden on your team to kind of get you to the promised land. And he kind of definitely struggled on this. I know Zenma got a kill early on this Mel. I know Soul is kind of I wouldn't say a counter, but a really good check into Mel, just because she really has a very limited window of like what she wants to W. Um, and she still gets CC'd by the ult. So, like, I seen the theory there, and actually when I talked to Rurika afterwards, yeah, he definitely knowed that the early game was something he just wasn't really comfortable with
Yeah.
on the ASOL. But I thought their map movement was pretty good to try and like wither the storm that you guys had. I mean, you got off to a really great start on the Sejuani, and you affected this map a lot. I just think the you guys didn't keep the tempo of the game up. Like you didn't keep it quick enough, long enough to really pressure this comp. Um, and then overall, this ASOL got once he got off the ground, it made it really hard for you guys to engage into him. You have a lot of like tanks that are pushing forward, and they're not the greatest hard engage. I mean, Sejuani can, but she really definitely likes a kind of a dive buddy with her, and having something like Jin Mel on the backside becomes difficult. And I think your targeting became very limited in the late game when you have stuff like Gwen, who has a lot more CDR. She can immune stuff. Aesil's kind of going to play far away. Zaya's going to have ult. So it became very hard for you to play the game in the sense of like, target selection there. And once this Aesil got off the ground, it's just hard to engage into him. So
Yeah. The,
the
the only thing I look back at regretting is that Baron call, to be honest. Everything else I felt really good about the game. I wish I played it a little slower there. I think we had a
Mhm.
really good chance of winning the game one if we just reset, then played the Baron. But I tried to push for it, and it cost us. Uh,
Yeah, I think it was
so,
it was also a feels bad that Rurika was sitting on big Aesol ult, so that made it really hard to play that Baron fight out correctly for you guys. I mean, he hits four of you guys and immediately turns and triple kills you when kind of flying through the wall. So Rurika played that last fight really well, but yeah, noticing that uh, Aesol has big ult, it probably was a very risky Baron call there.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, game two kind of felt a little similar. I mean, the biggest thing was we had no answers for P Dog's Ares. Oh my God, P Dog's Glenn. We had no answer for that, so that became kind of an issue. Obviously, the Casante is kind of fine into it, like early-ish, mid-ish, but eventually she's going to outscale, and that's kind of what happened. And this was
Mhm.
more prevalent of that compared to game one, because I felt like we kind of lost a split in game one. Well, we definitely lost it in game two, and you know, looking back, there were some changes that we all would have loved to make in the draft, but love the Cannons, they capitalized, they took advantage of it, and
Mhm.
they beat us in the series. So hey, again, if they end up watching this, I don't know if they will. I don't know who's gonna watch it since it's so late in the year. But hey, hats off to you guys. It was a fun series. Um, but I don't really have much to say about game two. It's kind of just a similar thing. So I don't know if you have anything you want to say real quick.
Not without going opening up a rabbit hole. I definitely thought the draft, like as far as like what you guys drafted, I think you guys had a distinct direction to it. I definitely feel like there's probably a world where you could have looked back and definitely gotten rid of P Dog's Gwen or even Frozen Ace's Vi, because it definitely felt like those are much easier to execute champions
Yeah,
in a sense. They're very one-dimensional on what they want to do and how they want to play the game. So, um, I would have liked to seen like a different what could have been
right.
had like one of those two champions been taken out. But I still like that's not saying like you guys lost draft or anything. It's you guys still played really well, and actually this was probably one of my favorite series of the whole split out of what I've casted and seen. So, um,
Well, glad you
hats
enjoyed
off.
it.
I mean, I don't want to say it like that because I know you were involved and things didn't go probably the way you planned, but overall, like both teams showed exactly why they were in the playoffs and why they were a strong team. And I argued again that whoever was coming out of this was going to be the team to watch going into the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
So
Well, speaking of teams to watch, how about we watch Coin Flip versus TK Ventures? I know this was definitely a hyped up matchup. I would have loved to kind of dive into that if we got to do it the episodes, but here we are now. Uh, but yeah, I mean, this was I know this was a really a fun series. I don't remember who cast this. Was this one you or was this one Pugsley?
I believe this was Pugsley.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember casting a zillion games, so this I'm pretty confident this was Pugsley.
This was Pugsley. All right. So, uh, we don't have the same. The Battlefy wasn't tracking these last three series. I don't know why, but they luckily put us some screenshots so we can kind of see what happened here. Looking here at game one, this was a
Oh,
TK Benchers victory.
I
Um,
remember this series now.
okay, he remembers the series now, so I'll let him dive into it. But man, Jax was crazy in that game one. Also, Aphelios, is that like his first win? I think in this whole split.
Uh, it might
Uh,
be.
yeah. Holy
I know we've
moly.
played it a couple times because my AD carry Diablo Fox really loves Aphelios.
Yeah.
So we might have gotten a win on him there, but yeah, he's not a champion that's been productive or been producing a lot of wins. But no, I remember the series because Pugsley was casting this, and I believe he was having some internet issues.
Oof.
So on Twitch, this kind of got really choppy. And I know
Hmm.
he tried to do his best. I think they took like a 10-minute break in between game one and two just to try and uh, make it better. But overall, yeah, I re-recorded the series. And yeah, I do remember a little bit. This was an entertaining series. I think if I remember, I didn't get a chance to get the drafts from this series, but I believe they left Mel open and Tang kind of had the Zillion counter pick going on, which was an interesting direction. Mel still popped off, but when you're playing like Wukong Jax Aphelios with a Zillion behind it, it just became really hard to just to kill anybody for the side of coin flip. And they don't ever back down from a fight, so there was a couple of fights that I thought they didn't play this game slow enough to let the Smolder get to the stacks. By the time Smolder got spiked up, there was already answers to it in the form of, Zillion having enough AP to bomb somebody. You can put out a lot of damage. Jax can dodge a lot of this stuff. Even went to Zonya's third item.
Yeah.
And then like Wukong can definitely stop him from flying away. So this was a very, very bloody game, but TK Gamers I felt like had the compositional answers
Yeah.
for what coin flip threw at him.
And he means TK Benchers. He might we
Sorry.
might do that a couple times. It gets confusing when, especially when you're getting
Yeah.
towards the end and they're literally both just
Uh,
here.
I'm
uh,
just yeah.
yeah, it's okay, it's okay. But yeah, no Benchers. I'm not surprised. The one thing I will say is GeoPro had the counter matchup into the Thresh, so I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't as much impact. I honestly just wish they would have picked something different than the Smolder. Like just give me anything else than Smolder here with the Nautilus. I think it's just so much better.
I agree. And if you're not going to switch out the Smolder, then I think you switch out the Nautilus and you play more of a utility like Enchanter to
Yeah,
buff up Sinzal Smolder.
yeah, because I feel like you're lacking something in both of those departments. Like they're not really synergized champions well with each other. Smolder is known to be more of a front to back. He can kind of go forward, but that's really not what he's known for. Um,
Hmm.
and Aphelios actually likes people coming into him, but with that much CC, he's not gonna like that. So if you go for the hard engage, jump on the Aphelios, jump on the Thresh, they should not be able to play the game. So
Yep. You're also burning that hard engage onto a champion that can't die because hello Zillion. It's like,
yes, yes, that would have been a bit of an issue, but at the same point, I mean, if Zillion clicks R on somebody else, and you just kill the Zillion as well, so it's not that big of a deal. But I also think blowing up one-shotting Aphelios twice is not also an issue. It's pretty easy to just make go boom. So, but
make
yeah,
go. Okay.
make go boom, make go boom. Bye bye. So
Okay.
they had enough die for it. They could Nautilus engage, kill him once, and then just turn around and Camille engage or Zinzo engage right after and kill him twice. Like I don't think that would have ever been a problem. I think I would have loved to see a different champ out of either the AD carry or maybe the support.
Agreed.
So yeah, we can kind of jump in here to game two. Um, this one it appears was also a victory out of TK Ventures. We see Lissandra coming out, a Nocturne game. We haven't seen that in a while. And a really the lovers duo in the bot lane look to be insane. Um, Once again, Geoprow pulling out something that I would just not think would be great with Smolder and Alistar, but I do like the top side of the map. I will say that. I just am not sure what the matchup is for Tryndamere into uh, Mbessa. I don't know what that matchup looks like.
I don't either. And I don't. I'm just kind of skimming through this game a little bit. I feel like Tryndamere is going to easily have like a scaling advantage there. As talented as Brandino is on these champions, um, you know, this Tryndamere is eventually just going to get out of hand. He's just going to right click you to death. I do like the answer with Lysandra into Mel. I don't think there's a lot of stuff that Mel is looking to reflect. Even if it reflects, say, Lysandra Q, it's not enough damage that Lysandra can't just eat it. And it's like, okay, now you're gankable by Nocturne, you know, easily. So I think they, again, in the drafts, I think they had a lot of really good answers to what Coin Flip was showing. And overall, again, this was a very mechanically intensive game, but we see gamers, I'm sorry, benchers, start stacking Drakes early, and even looks like they got the Rift Herald, so and they just kind of snowballed the mid game off that.
Yeah, it looked like a very dominating victory from them. I mean, when you're looking at the scores across the board, um, I'm kind of curious about one thing, and it probably happened during the match, but I'm curious. Does Lissandra's E count as a reflectable spell?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
that's cool. That's pretty cool.
But very similar to like the Anivia Mel matchup, you can dictate when you're going to retake the E, or in like my examples, the Anivia Q. So if you reactivate it before it hits Mel, then you're just right in her face. She burns the reflect, and you're just sitting there waiting for the reflect to wear off, and then you're just damaging her. So it's a little bit of a mind game. You can it's akin to like Renekton versus Fiora, where Fiora parry, if you mind game it and play it right, you can bait the parry out quite easily, and then she's just a sitting duck.
Gotcha. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would be a fun matchup to kind of see a little bit of. Um,
Mhm.
Plus,
So
excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry. That sneeze came out
bless
of
you.
nowhere, and I was trying to hold it in. But yeah, I would love to have seen because it's also two great mid laners to see them kind of going at it is also pretty dope. Um, I want to check that. Was the Leah banned this whole series? That's my question.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get the
I
draft.
wonder. I wonder. I see it's not showing. It's not showing up. The screenshot's not catching it, but um,
Mhm.
it's out there somewhere. I'm sure in the stratosphere. But yeah, I
There's
mean,
a big
go ahead.
there's a big fight here at the 25.5 minute mark that kind of sealed up this series, and you've seen a little bit of the mind games where Lysandra dove in to and Mel burned the W, but then after that you see Nocturne and Tryndamere and everything else just dogpile on her. So
Yeah, I see it's a
after
big Baron fight specifically.
yeah, this is right after they got the soul.
I think what's also interesting seeing that the Tryndamere is not split pushing. He's actually with them at the fight. I kind of like to see it honestly. It's not a bad thing. Then again, I don't like to see it. It kind of goes both ways.
I
But I
hate that
guess
champion.
I hate that champion. I think it's on a Tryndamere the split too, which is pretty hype. So
Yeah.
it's good on Afterpack for pulling that out. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously, it must be a decent matchup into the Mbessa, seeing that that's why he probably he's red side, right? I'm assuming he probably got counter for it. So pretty interesting to
Yeah.
see. But
Yeah.
we can jump here into game three as this series looking like it was um, looking kind of rough, and instead there was some hope left in coin flip, who were able to pick up a win here in game three.
You mean benchers?
No, no, did not coin flip not win this game?
game 3. I think Venture's won. Wait.
Wait, you're confusing me. I'm pretty sure. Now you got me questioning over all my logic.
Oh no, I dumbed it up. My bad.
What
My
do you?
bad. Ignore me.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I'll double check. I'll scroll to the end right now just to
No,
double check. But still.
no. I had best of 3 on the brain.
Oh, okay.
I had best
You
of 3
had
on
me
the brain.
questioning my whole reality. Like, wait a second.
I
Did I
did.
just not see something that I saw? Like, what's going on?
No, no. I looked at that and then I wanted to escape reality of how dumb I just was.
You're not dumb, CLT. It's okay. But
No.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about the game for a second here, buddy. All right.
Mm, I
Yeah.
know it was successful. I hate this Yasuo pick.
You hit. Why? It's good. I would think it's good in the or no.
I it is good in the Ornn, and ultimately, like, you're gonna stop his ult, but there's just so much zone control coming out of like Caitlyn traps, Veigar, and then you have two beefy front lines in the Skarner Ornn that will sit back and brawl with you. That I don't know if Yasuo ever really gets off the ground or is able to impact the game on his terms. Like, and there's no real knockups coming out. There isn't any knockups coming out of the rest of the coin flip members. So I felt like this Yasuo kind of got carried. I mean, Matthias and Aristotelian, I'm sorry if I butchered that, played this game like super, super well. And they kept the pace of this game up when you have a lot of scaling on the other side. You have Ornn, Skarner, Veigar. So like they attacked the benchers comp really well, but I look at this Yasuo and I'm like, why is this here?
Just for the
It's like
matchup top, clearly, and just for the Ornhorn. I mean,
and
honestly,
it
like, look, you're looking at it the whole wrong way. It, there's probably other champs you could pick here, but because it made Ornn's job harder, I think that's it. That's all you need. It's like, hey, anytime Windwall is up, the Ornn can literally not engage, and that is literally only job at that point. And it sounds ridiculous to pick Yasuo for that, but I mean, clearly that was all they needed, right? The other point to it is Yasuo is still a threat in this game, right? If he gets on to the back line, like he can do work. So it's not like the champion is just completely honestly useless. You've got
I don't see how he ever
Poke.
gets on the back line.
I mean, a big Mumu engage, big Leona engage. I can't see why he doesn't. I mean, we could probably watch some clips and see him getting on the back line.
I'm not trying to over dive into this, but I'm like, even if Amumu gets a really good engage, you're still battling through Veigar Cage, the tanks who are going to be able to CC you at melee range super easily. You know, Victor Apple's Milio is able to help stop the knock up and stop your ult like mid cast. Like, the Ezreal pick to me is what actually won this game, and I'm not really. I don't want to say like I'm a big Ezreal hater. I'm not, but this was like the one game where I'm like, okay, Ezreal has a boatload of value because they never get to Ezreal. Like, he dodges all of the zone control. He stays out of Caitlyn, or specifically Veigar's range, and you're just never gonna lock down this Ezreal. Uh, so I think Yasuo did very well at frontlining and absorbing cooldowns, but like, you're never ever going to get through Leona Veigar to get the Ezreal,
Yeah,
and then
no,
Victor on
I
top of
get
that.
it, and it definitely was the Mumu and Ezra show for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Aristotle went 9-1 on this Mumu. Very very good game from him. And
Oh, he popped off.
Matthias definitely had a performance, but um, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yasuo is there. He's having a good time. He's enjoying the ride. He's clicking W. He's
He was a backpack.
EQing some people and not inting. He didn't hit his 0 and 10 power spike.
I was so cool.
That's actually why. No, that's why he wasn't impactful. He didn't go 0 and 10.
That's true. I will give you that because we've seen enough 0 and 10 performances that we'll talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about later. But let's just dive into the last game of the series and what resulted in the 3-1 here. And here we're gonna see the Lee Sin, and now Changi's Lee Sin the previous week did not really do anything in that second game where the Blanc popped off, or third game, I'm sorry, where the Blanc popped off, right? He was just kind of existing. This game, total different story, and it's picked into a Skarner, which I don't think is a great Lee Sin matchup by any means, but he also had Afterpack popping off on this Nasus. And it's funny because we just talked about like why Nasus, and we saw this exact matchup flipped again the previous week, and it's like, why are we picking it? Well, I don't know, but it worked here. I don't know why it
I,
worked here, but it did.
I will tell you why I feel like this works so much better. Karma. You're giving Nasus a bunch of speed. You're giving him shielding to be able to take the brunt of the cooldowns. Like, and on top of that, the one carry that I feel like Nasus is going to have a hard time catching, he actually loves the face because attack speed slows are so great in the Callista.
Yeah, I actually
So,
wonder if this was picked just because Callisto was in the game. Like, I'm
you know
genuinely
what?
curious.
It's benchers, so probably, but I think there was a lot of pressure put on Chengi this game, and he shows why he's one of the few pulling out Lee Sin successfully and playing it.
Yeah, yeah, and I love seeing it. I I feel like something I've done in these last two splits more than ever. I've kind of just strayed away from my Lee Sin. Um, in hindsight, I still don't understand why because I know I could play the champions very proficiently, but I always feel like I gotta be a team player, gotta be team player, gotta be team player. Um, but like you see someone like Changi, who I think we share similar pools, and he's doing the things that I know I'm capable of. I'm like, damn, this guy is he's not just good, but I'm like, okay, he's showing why these champions are good, and specifically Lee Sin, um, obviously in the situation because it could be used for more than just being a selfish kind of let me do work pick. It certainly does provide more to a team than just that. Everyone likes to call it the the kick bot at certain points in the game. True, he kind of does become that, but like, don't knock his shields. Don't knock his ability to slow people in fights and be a nuisance and in and out and stuff. And if he can survive and then help his carries, like it's a very valuable pick. Um, the more people would realize. But yeah, he definitely had a good game and a lot of success, and
Oh
was a big
my.
reason why they were able to get to the finals off of this game.
Yeah, coin flip got off to a really like good start. Stocked like especially at the later part of the early game, definitely got a few kills and picked up the first two dragons, but then Chengi happened.
Yeah, Chengi, he happened, and he
Yeah, there's a mid lane fight here at like the 16-minute marker. He just played it beautifully.
yeah.
Uh,
Also, again with this silent support out here too.
there's a
Victor
lot of
Apple.
really good there's a lot of really good Silas ults here too. So I think it definitely had value, especially into something like Leona Callista. Like I don't know who exactly Victor Apple Black Speared, but I assume it was Chengi. But yeah, it's yeah, really good game overall by the Bencher squad.
Yeah, and got him to the the finals, and you look at their road there. It was paved with some an interesting path. I mean, they had to win to get themselves into that fourth seed and get themselves dodging that first round, right? Beating two decent teams and both Backdoor Bandits and um, Scorch. Then they get that rematch with Scorch and heavily battle tested in that series, pushed all the way to 3 games, but they're able to pull it off when it matters. And then go against easily at the time someone we thought was again the best team in the league, undefeated, hadn't dropped a single game until this series, not a single game. They were literally 12-0 going into this series, and then they finally defeated the kings of the mountain at that current moment, and were able to knock off the 1 seed and find themselves in the finals. So yeah, benchers, they earned their way in. That's for sure. Like, it was not an easy road. With that said, I think we can jump into the uh, the next series, which was oh, that's the same one. Gamers um, versus Load the Cannons. Sorry, I'm trying to find it on YouTube and I did not see it.
It is it's under the videos.
I thought it was in here, but I'm not catching it. Where is it at? CLT, I need you.
Uh,
Is it not? Is it not under the Winter?
it's under videos.
was just straight up
You
on
got
our
sorted by
videos.
leads. Yeah.
So the Sweat League, Winter Sweat 2024.
Just videos, and it's the furthest right on the top row.
Yeah, that's okay. All right.
I
That's helpful. So it wasn't in the it clearly wasn't in the winter playlist, guys. We gotta get in there.
oh, whoopsie.
What's this
Raise his
gamers?
hand. That was on me.
This is gamers versus benchers. Where the heck is it? Semifinals. Load the cannons. There we go. We got it. We found it, boys. Here you go. Here's some stuff here for you. Holy
Technical
moly! Yes, 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 yes. So, anyways, yeah. Let's break down this matchup here. So,
This matchup was interesting, to say the least. There was a boatload of subs on both sides, so this was not either team really at full strength. Load the Cannons had a sub top, jungle, and support,
wow.
and Gamers had a sub at mid and top as well. So 5 subs in these first couple games. Uh, but we had Jello, who I believe is a mid laner for another team. The team name escapes me, but I know Jello's played in the league.
He's PB and
Uh,
J's 80 carry.
there it is. Yep. So he filled in for mid lane, and the other subs I'm not really familiar with. Maybe you know them by tag, but not gonna dive too deep into that. But this I think the draft for this game one was super interesting. We didn't really know what to think about with all of these subs here. Uh, but Jello playing this Ziggs, Ziggs mid. I feel like sometimes Ziggs gets slept on, and he's very hard to just find success with. But this game specifically, there was not really much that Load the Cannons drafted to get on top of Ziggs, and then when you have a combo of like Ziggs, Vi with Urgot R coming in, it just made it really hard to survive the burst coming out. So it it became a pretty difficult game for Load the Cannons. They picked a pretty reserved bot lane, minus busting out the Zeri, which is not something where we see that often. But Zeri Lulu is a pretty fine combo. I'm trying to go back through and see if Jinx was banned. Jinx was banned, so they they kind of probably felt like they went to the next best crit marksman, but you could definitely see that the 3 subs for Load the Cannons really had a hard time, like the team themselves had a hard time like playing around each other. So when you're trying to pull off a Zeri comp, like you need everybody on the same page and understand what they're doing to support that type of a late game AD carry.
Yeah. The only name I recognize here, by the way, on the side of Load the Cannons is Yoda Cam. So I don't recognize literally anybody else. Um,
Yeah.
and then I don't know who East African is. I don't recall that name either for TK Gamers. So
Mhm.
glad everyone got subs. We also seeing Fiddlestick support. I know my support, Fitzik, would love to see that if it's played the correct way. I mean, he would definitely have remarks if it's not played well. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fun to see, and uh, just man, you don't ever want to see a series where you have 5 subs, right? But I'm
Yeah.
grateful to the teams for willing to play and play through it, and that could be the reason why Load the Cannons maybe won a game, or it could be the reason why they lost the series. I don't know. Definitely did not have positive impact overall. Probably, if they had their full squad, I am generally curious how things would have turned out. But gamers didn't either, so I mean, it pretty much even footing across the board when it comes to that. But I don't think that diminishes the series or the play.
No.
It still was played. It still was a worthy semifinals matchup. Um, and yeah, game one here, like you said, like the Ziggs mid was
Ziggs popped off.
interesting to see, and Bori they're really really on this Quirky, which is so funny because that's a Jello champion. Jello's like, yo, play Quirky, it's really good, dude. I feel like that's what
It is.
happened. Both being 80 carries. Um, but yeah, I mean, so good overall game one here. But yeah, we can dive into game two a little bit more here. Um, this one, I don't know who won yet. It's looking like, oh, okay, so game two was won by the Cannons. All
Yeah,
right,
this looking back at this draft here, this definitely felt like a more traditional like load the cannons comp. You had Rurika on a playmaking type mage in Aurora, and minus while I don't think there's a lot of 80 carries that get the pass to play Ezreal, Minus is one of them. He plays Ezreal like exceptionally well. So this definitely felt like they were on more impactful picks. And then the rest of the team, like you have a tank top, you have Viego to help supplement the dive with Aurora.
right.
Uh, I think their comp was way better, way better constructed overall here. And I honestly thought the gamers comp was a little interesting. I know Bori is probably I could confidently say he's the only AD carry that's going to bust out Neela, and he's absolutely nutty on the pick. But I felt like this created such a short range comp, and when you're playing that kind of short range into specifically Aurora, and you're diving into Renata Glass, it just becomes really hard to play the game.
Yeah, and though there's not a lot of tank killing on the side of Load the Cannons, there is a tank killer, and his name
Yeah.
is Viego. So I think the Mundo pick here, honestly, like low value. There's not a lot of AP damage that's coming in. I don't really
hmm
see why that pick was picked. The Skarner, it was still strong at the time. Maybe not as strong. It's fallen off a little bit at this point with some changes, but it still is good. And I think it's actually relatively good in the Viego, but eventually Viego is going to outscale it, and it's going to just chip away at Skarner's health super quick with the Blade of the Ruin King. Probably something like a what's that item called? Kraken, right? Like things like this. It's gonna be really, really hard for those tanks to really frontline like they want to. At the same time, Viego can also die pretty quickly, but he had help. He had a Renata Glass, kind of setting that up, making it so the 80 carries can't just play the game freely. Lastly, no AP on the side of TK gamers, which is also interesting. So this Ornn, stack the armor, have fun.
Hmm. You you say that, and he built a Hollow Radiance.
Oh, well, what a guy. Stack the AP. Why build armor? I mean, there are some kind of AP coming out. It's not like there's none at all. I mean, it's like you can't ignore it, I guess. But I
Bro, he
mean,
went Hollow Radiance in the Merc Treads.
it's great. Mercs kind of makes sense. I mean, there's probably more if
Yeah.
there's uh Skarner E. Like it's not completely useless, but
I'll give you the pass on Mercs, but the Hollow Radiance was a little interesting. I think I even noted that in the cast.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, this Mundo, it was borderline useless. Like I don't want to go in too heavy because I think Mundo's a fantastic tank and can lane pretty well into just about anything, especially with Q spam. But I felt like they needed a few more go buttons to get on top of like either Viego or Aurora. You know, even if it was something that lost lane but still gave you more buttons like a Malphite, I think you at least have a go button there.
I think the Malphite angle here is lovely, by the way, and you could probably build
I
a
do
little
too.
AP too. Oh my god, that would have been crazy. Yeah,
There is a Malignance in the tank build out there somewhere.
yeah. No, I should have ran it. Should have ran it. But yeah, I mean, this was like I said, Loaded Cannon's getting the win here. It's awesome. Obviously, you love to see it, and it was a decently kind of strong performance too. It was pretty dominating. Um,
Yeah.
the game,
The Renata was the MVP, honestly, of this game. Like you just they would dive in on Aurora or Viego, and Renata's just zoning off with ults or getting really good 3-4 man ults off.
yeah, and looking
So
here, even at 30 minutes, it was a pretty substantial lead. I mean, it's 6K,
yeah,
so um,
yeah.
it really wasn't that close as the game progressed. So watching Orange trying to take Nilo is so funny. Can't do nothing. Nilo's just chipping away at Orange for free.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, Nyla was probably the only chance they had in this game. Can kill tanks pretty well, and has a strong late game if she can sit on top of people. But like you said, the range was kind of the factor. So, but we can dive into the game two here. Um,
Yeah.
our game three. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, game
Yep,
three.
yep.
And that was a victory here by the gamers. Um, what kind of stood out
It,
here for you?
this to me was like a traditional like TK gamers comp. Just side note, we see CC Star came back in the top lane for this game here. But in the draft, like this is a comp that we've seen them typically pull out with, Vi engage with support backing them up with some CC abilities, and then you have some stuff like Seraphine in the back that's just can combo ults off and get like really consistent damage on and blow people up. So the this was like to me gamers is their draft to basically fumble here, and they didn't. They played the early game really well. Poke Archer affected the map quite a bit. Uh, and they just they this is a comp where just like you watch them play it and you're like, these guys play this comp. They know exactly what to do, what their jobs are. And they played it really well. On the other side, I thought as great as a performance as like Rurika had in the previous game on the Aurora, and we know him to be like a mechanically like gifted player. Putting him on Galio duty felt interesting. Like I don't know if that's the avenue you want to go. You're putting a lot of pressure on your two subs on the top side of the map in this Gwen jungle and this Mbessa top to affect the game, which they can do it. I mean, I can only imagine that they're good enough players to do it, but in a coordinated team setting, you're asking a lot for two carries to do that when you're got your top tier mid laner, your MVP mid laner on Galio duty. Was
Yeah,
just was a feels bad moment I felt like in the draft.
I agree, and I also think that really they just don't. I don't think they have the comp here to kind of deal with what gamers is gonna have. I mean, they do have a nice sideline matchup here where our best is really good into the Casante. But overall, I'm just looking at like, yeah, but like, what's the answer for this Seraphine, right? How do you get on the Seraphine? You got this beefy Nautilus in front. You've obviously got the Casante in team fights to protect. So they have no way of getting on top of her. It's what dive in with Mbessa Gwen. Good luck. You know what I mean? Like, good luck
Yeah,
actually getting there. So the best thing you look for is maybe side laning. But like, do you really want your Gwen side laning? Your jungler?
no,
So it definitely felt like a bit of a weird draft, and maybe there were some limitations. You know, these guys are subbing in, and you don't want to give them anything they don't feel comfortable on. And then CC Star coming in again also brought like a different feel to probably the series, and I can imagine it threw off Flow the Cannons a bit here in Game Three. But nonetheless, like you said, you did not. I don't think they did themselves any favors, like you said. Like they didn't give
yeah,
themselves a better chance to win this Game Three, and it showed. I mean, it was one of the quickest games in the series. So, um, gamers took care of business, got back on track. Got back up on the Lita board there, 2-1 in the series. And then we got ourselves into the final game of the series, this game four, which the Ezreal got taken away, right?
yeah,
But it's the Mbessa that really did the work. Um, I mean, absolutely disgusting performance out of this Mbessa. Um, really, that's not even close, to be honest, in terms of what like Rarika could have done.
yeah. We did see P Dog come back for this game four here, and I speak for the tree. He moved from the top lane sub to jungle here, but I yeah, stand by on. I mean, we brought it up earlier. This Riven, Silas, and Bessa, like these mechanically uh like strong champions. He performs and it definitely feels like he has a really good knack for playing these champions.
Yeah.
Um,
What's up with this new support, by the way?
dude, I don't I
I
got
feel
nothing.
like if there was any way to throw this right here, if there's any way to make this a game five, it's just new support rolling it down.
I this was the downfall. If anybody likes standard support picks, this is where you're start gonna really not like the direction where this podcast is going to go,
Just
especially if we
turn
talk about the finals here soon.
just turn it
But
off. Get out while you still
yes.
can. Run.
Yeah, yeah. If my boy Pens is listening to this, he hates non-traditional support, so he's going to turn this off now.
Okay, bye Pens. It was nice having
Mhm.
you.
But yeah, this new support, I mean, he roamed around the map and he made some impact, but ultimately, yeah, this was the standby show. And then this Zyra jungle comes out again. It's just if you don't pick hard engage, there's nothing stopping this Zyra. Like you can't just like face roll dash into it. You can't out damage it. Like she can build pretty bruiser-ish, like with the AP items that she builds.
Oh my God, Yoda! I'm sorry. I don't. That hook on Ezreal was insane off the blast cone. Oh
Um,
my Jesus! I just want to
where was
point that
this
out.
at?
4 minutes, like a little before 4 minutes, like 3:58, 3:57. Oh, that was crazy. I'm just watching it back. That was nuts. Okay, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree with you. I fully agree. Um, and
Oh, that hook was
yeah,
sick.
it was right. Oh my goodness.
I
Hey,
don't know how I forgot about that, but that hook was sick.
yeah, you go back, look through quarters and some eyes, get some clips, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to.
Oh.
You're off duty after today. You're off duty. But yeah, no,
More
I mean
blue.
it was fantastic to see that we're getting some goofy stuff. But at the same point, the Zyra seems to be just really good in Wukong. Been a really good answer across league in general, right? So
Yeah,
I'm sure stuff will get spiced up here. Um, but by the time we're looking at April for the next split, I am sure that the Wukong and the Zyra won't be meta. To be honest, I feel like you're gonna see nerfs to Zyra, but also I just think Wukong isn't. I still don't think he's broken like people made it out to be, and he'll start to lose favor. It also feels like this meta, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It feels very mid game eccentric. There's so many objectives to fight over that you honestly want to have the better comp that can fight at like 15 to 20 minutes. Like that's what you really want. You're not aiming to have the late game scaling comp. You're aiming to have that comp that can just bulldoze at 1.5, 2 items.
yeah. It feels like every team fight post 10 minutes, there's an objective that you're going after,
Yeah.
and it
Hey.
feels really bad to lose them.
Yep. So or at least to lose all of them. You can lose one or two here, but like
Yeah, yeah.
you definitely want to contest. But yeah, good job to gamers and well played by them to pick up the win here and get themselves into the finals. And now we can finally get there. Unfortunately, Battlefy did tweak out, so I cannot show you guys anything here. I'll still click on it just to show the 3-0 by gamers over Betchers, but we can actually dive into the series. But yeah, so I think it's best for us to now get into that series, and we casted this one together. Thankfully, we did get to do that. And let me see. Oh look, it's right here for us. Nice. Love that I got that for us. So let's kind of talk about about game one of what was a should point out a fearless series too. So
Yes.
I will
Yeah, these
I will let you lead it off, CLT.
yeah, these teams agreed to Fearless and then proceeded to I overthink this a little bit. We seen game one here. This draft was just all over the place. When you're looking at stuff like Cho'Gath, Heimer on the same team, then you're looking at Wukong, Vi, Akali, Asante on the same team. It's like you don't know where this draft went. It ended up being Cho'Gath mid versus Tang's Akali, and Tang got off to a really good start. This is a pretty Akali favored matchup early until Cho'Gath can just kind of scale and then out tank a lot of the damage. And this bot lane, this Vi support. I don't know what the theory was behind this, or if they felt like it was great engage into what they were showing. I don't know. This Vi support did virtually nothing. Uh,
It existed.
even though it absorbed cooldowns is how I'll put it. This was a rough one to watch. I know the top side of the map, like I said, Tang got 3 kills. I think 2 solo kills, and then a double kill off a fight to start this game off like 4-1 at about 9 minutes. But at the 9 minute mark, this bot lane with Borky and Standby just got unleashed. So
Did you just call him Borky?
we're called. Oh yeah, come on, man.
It's his nickname now. I said it and it's over with. Borky, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna have to blame you for that one. But yeah, they ended up diving Victor under the turret with Poke Archer being down there, and then as they're running back to turret, dive them again, and then fight them in between their tier 1 and tier 2 to just basically let Bori put a stranglehold on this game. And Bori's build ended up being so like beefy that it they just outscaled super quickly the side of the Ventress comp. So yeah, even though Tang had an impressive score line, there was just not much he could do in the mid and late game. Once Cho'Gath got second item MR, you're looking at the ultimate hex plate. I forget the exact name of the item on Tabori and then Terminus right behind it. It's just he had so much HP and MR that it became very hard. And then also if you're a Kali, you're diving into Maokai, Cho'Gath. You're gonna face tank a Varus ult, which is then gonna line up Heimer to stun. Like there was just nothing this Akali could do.
Yeah. We should also talk about this as well, like Relentless and Standby swapping here. So what actually happened
Oh
was,
yeah.
clarify, Relentless was the mid laner for the series. He actually just straight up went mid, and Standby did straight up go support. I want to bring it up because it was brought up a little bit between the two teams in the interview. Was that Relentless wanted the matchup against Ting? He just straight up said, "I can beat this guy." That's basically how it went. So, yeah, that's what happened. They have history of playing against each other. So, very interesting. But early on, Tang was getting the better of the matchup, 100%. I think in almost every game for sure. But
Yeah.
Relentless was, as his name as proclaimed, was relentless. So
Oh,
he stated
yeah, he
it, and
was.
this Cho'Gath was an absolutely brutal menace here in game one. I do agree that the Vi is just kind of stuck out. Like, why? Wait, why? Like, what's the point here, right? And it did not work out very very well. End up just kind of getting shut down. There was the lane swap that they pulled off to try to you know avoid some of that because the Vi is not very good in that lane. But yeah, I mean it was just didn't work out very well, and I know that Victor would really like to have back to this game. I'm honestly most of the series was probably in the two splits his overall worst performances, and I say that as his friend. I know he feels the same way, but I do think he's gonna come back stronger when he comes back next split. So I'm not that worried about it for him. It happens to the best of us. And next time we just won't be picking by support. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. Geo Proud barely gets the pass for that, and he only did it for one game. So
hmm Even then, I didn't love it.
no, I didn't either.
But you now can see how it can get punished for sure. So, um, as far as everything else on the map, I mean, it really was just the Tang versus everybody else on gamers. I mean, obviously, the pop up performance from Boria throughout the whole entire series is to note. But I mean, Ting was definitely. I'm not really trying to say 1v5, but he really was trying to carry the best he could, but it just wasn't enough. Nobody else got really, really strong. Strawberry Tea was pretty behind on the Kaisa. Uh, Changi just wasn't having his typical, pop off performances in the jungle. So, I mean, especially here in this game one, it really felt like gamers just kind of had control of this game over benchers, and it didn't feel as close as maybe sometimes the score or the gold even said at certain points of the game. So, um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you think about the overall game? Like, what do you where's is there anything you go back and you look like it maybe that uh, Benchers had a shot in this game? Was there any point?
I don't I, I want to say yes looking at the scoreline, but honestly, the Akali got rolling and got a boatload of kills and a boatload of gold. But for the gamer side, it felt like they were just never ever worried about the Akali. Like they know that Relentless, even though he gave up a few kills, once he got Kinetic Ruker in, once Standby got Zonya's Bori built tanky enough, they just were never really worried about this Akali. And we've seen in a couple of the late game fights where Akali dove in and no one really like backed away or didn't cause any chaos. They were just playing the team fights patiently, waiting for Akali to show herself and then blow her up.
Yeah,
So it just it was impressive that they in like your standard solo queue games, which I know this isn't, you could see people freak out over an assassin getting a bunch of kills, but gamers did not. They just you know, status quo, played the game out correctly. They knew exactly what their roles were, and you know, ultimately, Bori is on an 80 carry champion that can build tanky and not get one shot no matter what. So
yeah. And I mean, if you're looking at it from the scope, the one thing I really want to say is that the Otacon. I'm looking back at this clip. I'm like, oh man, the Otacon. We talked about it so much when week 5 was played. Otacon feels like a bait. It just feels like a bait. Like, don't take it at 20 minutes, you know? And they try to take it right in front of their face after they kind of got some gold back on Bencher's side, and then boom, Polkart just steals it, and the game is just over from that point on. It's just like, man, you know? Like, you guys had something maybe cooking, and the Otacon drew you in, and you found out it wasn't that worth. So, yeah, game one was really well played there by gamers, and Boris specifically on this Varus, which was also nice to see a Varus game continue to pop off. But yeah, we
yeah.
can we can touch on game two. Um, this was
Oh,
the
oh my God.
this was the Trundle support game. Um, we all questioned
Besi-
the Trundle support, and I'm not going to talk about it a lot, but I do not think it was good here. What I did like though, I liked seeing Shangi's Lee Sin, even though it did struggle a bit. And I did like the top lane pick. I was a fan of the Rise. Well, actually, it was technically Rise mid, but they took a top. I was a fan of that. I liked it a lot. So I think Benchers definitely were cooking well in the draft, and that showed. They actually had a bit of a lead in this game. This game was the game really felt like they could have won. So, um, what was your kind of take from this? We also saw Cyan mid, so
I mean, my take on this was that I felt like benchers had really good answers draft wise, except for the Mel. Like they don't have enough. You have damage. You have to some degree like a little bit of CC and lockdown, but there's just nothing that'll front line to allow your divers to get to Mel without them absorbing like just a massive amounts of damage.
yeah,
But yeah, this Trundle support, I thought it should have went top, even though it's not a great. I don't believe it's a great matchup in the Gwen. It still provides some team fight value, being kind of a fightery champion that can absorb the tank stats out of Scion Sejuani. So this is this is the last support that you would ever want to pair with Jinx. I think Jinx is perfectly fine, but there's just nothing supporting this Jinx. Everything else wants to go forward, and Jinx is left on an island. Like, well, I'm the only one in the back line. I can't do anything. I can't hit anything because I'm dodging shit. It's like this
yeah,
was a
and it
this
sucked
was
that Jinx didn't get really like fed. I mean, the Jinx maybe gets a little bit of gold more than just a kill. This game obviously could have been a bit different because Afterpack was absolutely huge on this on this Yone. I think his only crucial mistake was trying to take a fight um, into the Gwen after the Gwen had been kind of strong as well, just a champion in nature, and then ended up giving a shutdown, which really got the Gwen rolling after they really kind of held her in check, I think. And that was pretty much when the game broke, in my opinion. I feel like up to that point, the game was pretty close. I really felt like uh, TK Benchers could still win the game, regardless of how strong the Mel was. But then the Gwen became a threat, and it was like now you have to deal with two super strong champs with huge front line from Cyan and Sejuani, and then Pike just like, hey, if you guys get in execute range, I kill you. So
Yeah, like there was nothing to stop Mel Gwen from getting not meaningful damage. And what I mean by that is like there's not enough beef in the front line to I troll when I say absorb cooldowns, but like in this case I actually mean like there's nothing forcing abilities out and absorbing cooldowns and being able to tank up that kind of damage. So when CC Star got to the point where it was hard to answer him, he solo killed Tang, I think, once in the mid game, and then got a shutdown off of After Pack when After Pack was 7-0. Like you gave so much gold over to this Gwen that then you had to answer 2 points, like you mentioned, and it just became really hard.
yeah, that was definitely the thing, and I think Wed's Sejuani pairing is nice as well. It was really nice to see Poke Archer finally play his Sejuani again. Tank duty,
Hmm.
buddy. It was good. It was a good Sedge game. We see Sedge struggle a bit throughout the split, but it was nice to see her get a victory. Um, and we had the fun joke about who's going to get to 10 deaths first. The good fun between the Cyan and the Trundle. But yeah, I mean, it was just I felt it felt very sloppy these games, and
Yeah.
this game too was certainly nothing different from that from game one in terms of the sloppiness. It's just unfortunate that Benchers couldn't have maybe kind of made this a series in the moment where you kind of thought like it might have been, um, because unfortunately right after this we do get a game three, but it's just not a game three that Benchers wanted to see. But it was one that Bori wanted to see because the man was on a tirade and it did not stop as we got into game three. So
Yeah.
you
This
wanna you want to discuss this game three a bit?
sure, yeah, this game 3 was equally as like sloppy except for boring. We seen Relentless pull out the most random mid lane pick you're ever going to talk about. Uh, AP Alistar mid. Note didn't even go Electrocute, which just got buffed recently. Uh, Poke Archer pulls out this Darius jungle. CC Star just like I'm going to play Mundo, but again, I, I felt like the Ventures team just outdrafted themselves. Like I get the theory behind like Vayne mid into Alistar, but I ultimately I don't really agree with it as much. If you're going to play something in the Alistar that wants to scale, like pick something with a touch more range and maybe a little beefiness. Like I could have seen Swain, Ace Soul, um, even another like Rise pick come out. Something like that that can withstand kind of the trolliness and the fast pace that an AP Alistar makes you play, but you can still like scale and outscale it. So, um, I thought Chingy's on the Elise pick was really clever, really good. I actually thought the Elise was going support, but then Victor played this Nidalee, which I kind of like. I went in a little bit on the Nidalee, but watching this game back a little bit, the heals were definitely like noticeable. I just felt like if you're going to play a heal bot, then Soraka looked really good here, especially with very limited engage coming out of the gamers comp. I felt like picking an enchanter with Ash Vayne specifically would have been really good. So, um, but yeah, overall this game like just kind of just all over the place, but there was just not enough impact coming out of the Ventures comp. So,
Yeah, and I talked about it. I feel like in theory the comp looked great. Maybe minus. I mean, Italy was healing enough, but I think probably minus Italy or maybe Ash or something. One of those picks. But like the thing was, I do think Ash can deal with Mundo pretty well with the slows, keep him off you, and then Vayne will just shred the Mundo. So they had the answer there. I thought the Vayne knockback onto Alistair would be enough to kind of cancel that, or the Cocoon, which we saw the Cocoon and Condemn a couple times out of the Alistair, work pretty well. So it kind of felt like a game that I do think that Benchers probably should have won based on the comps, but you know, it just didn't work out that way. Interesting to see Darius jungle. We don't see that very often, but it was played here. I think Poke Archer did fine on the Darius, did his job. I don't think he's, the pick was like, hey, this is why we won. I just think it was doing Darius things. Had some pop
Yeah.
off moments for sure. But again, you look at Bori. Yeah, his team's setting him up, and I know he's going to give props to his team always. And I think that's what a good player should do. They should give props to the people that make sure he can carry the game. But I mean, dude, you had one of the best performances we've ever seen in a finals, like ever, to my knowledge. I don't recall any this insane. We've seen some really good ones too, by the way, but this one was just out of this world. So you earned your keep, man. You're the Finals MVP for a reason,
Mhm.
and this was just the border show once again on this Corky. Um, there was nothing that really felt to me like a moment where I really felt like Benchers was gonna have a shot in this game, though. Like even if the goal was close, again felt just like okay, I think Gamers has got this. They had the momentum, they had the tankiness on their comp, they had the engage, and Bencher's comp was just not pulling it off. They weren't finding the counter punches like they should.
Yeah, I felt like Benchers just never felt like they fired on all cylinders. It just felt like if some part of the map was doing well or playing picks that we would associate them with, then the other part of the map wasn't absorbing enough pressure and it kind of got out of control. Um, case in point, like this game three where Bori had an amazing performance, don't get me wrong, but Standby had like he put so much pressure onto the bencher's comp because there's not really anything that can tank a Zoe E outside of like Changi Spiderlings. Afterpack never really he brought the grasp on Jace, but never really built like a true tank Jace. And then, you know, Elise can repel the bubble, but the bubble sleep lasts longer than the repel, unless you're really good at the timing with like Merc Treads. But this was more of a like a burst assassin Elise setup. So standby really was unleashed on this map, and there was nothing the bot lane of Ventress could do to like really pressure Bori. So yeah, this was a great performance by the gamers squad overall. But yeah, Bori had an absolute insane stat line. I forget the actual stat that I posted in chat, but it was something like 40 kills and like only 4 or 5 deaths, something like that.
Yeah, something pretty absurd. I'm sure we could backlog it if we really wanted to, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean this game definitely there was nothing in particular. It's just like Benchers is slowly but surely taking care of business, man. That's what it kind of felt like.
Mhm.
Fights were were just crazy fights, but um, back and forth. Everybody just wanted to run it down, I guess, in the series, man. There were so many kills in the finals. It's so crazy. But I guess it's fun. I mean, people like if you like bloody matchups, man, you got that. Um, also, like to point out, I do want to say there was a small moment where I thought maybe when Chingy stole that Baron, but that was the only time in this game where I kind of thought about that, and I kind of forgot about it until I just saw it now. So, but unfortunately, CC Star was just whacking the base in the meantime. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, GG to gamers, man. You guys conquered the world again. Two-time champs, Poke Archer and Bori.
Bori.
Congratulations to them on that. That's a great milestone. Bori back-to-back MVPs too, right?
Mhm.
Finals MVPs, that is. Um, yeah, what a great split, man. What a great split. Again, I'm sorry we weren't able to get these two videos before this, and this video had to be longer, And if you guys really wanted to focus on the finals, got pushed back a little bit later in the video, but I mean, hey, we're just happy we got it covered. So, any kind of like final thoughts on things, CLT?
No, I think the series what showcased a lot of what brought gamers to, deep run into the tournament, winning the finals, and then all in all, like the season, there was a lot going on this season, and I think there was a big mountain to climb as far as, catching all these teams, streaming everything, pulling out this content, but big shout out to the people who helped us stream, cast. I know Arpies, Pugsley, Zerstaya, War Initiate casted a few on his channel, and a bunch of others that
Yeah,
chipped
I
in.
could have sworn Bori didn't Bori get in one of these this split as well.
Yeah, I think Bori and Victor Apple actually casted a
One,
casted a game.
at least one, yeah, one series as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
One Punch Zach even came back and I
yeah.
think casted what
He
twice with
cast,
you.
yeah, he cast with me too. Yeah. So no,
Yeah,
we are super thankful to all you guys and
yeah,
appreciate that. Um, I like to point out gamers they were a 7 seed that won it all. So I don't know if they were a true 7 seed, but I don't know if that's relevant. I mean, the point is they were a 7 seed. They did not have side selection except for one. No, they had two. No, they had two series actually. They did have two series side selection.
yeah.
Disregard, but that's still impressive, right? Um, and neither of the top three teams made it. So that's also something to note. I mean, that's pretty crazy to think about as well. But yeah, man, it was a really fun split, and happy to be a part of it. Happy to cast it. Super exhausting. Not gonna lie to you
Yeah, we need a
guys.
break.
We're taking these 2 months off, and we're excited for it. But this gives me a second to point out a few things. So, things to note: we have tentatively, like I said, April, I think 13th is what we're talking about for the start date of the split. That might get pushed back a week, but that's relatively what we're looking at. We are going to be in talks today to talk about some rule changes and some moves we want to make uh, for next split. So, pay attention to that when we do get the battle fly up. Look at the rule changes. Do expect that there could be some more changed before the start date. We do have the ability and right to make those changes all the way up to the start of the split. So some might not go into effect right away. Like it might not show initially on the Battlefy. So if you do sign up, do take note of that. Make sure you are checking, even as we get closer to the start. Um, we do plan on doing a Q&A again, probably sometime in March. Don't have an exact week for you right now. We will drop that link or drop that info once we have that. I'd probably say looking at maybe the end of March, maybe early April, but like that's what we're looking at. Other than that, the only thing I could say is I do not think we're doing three splits this year. I think we're probably gonna do two. If you guys really want three, maybe we can work something out. But man, like we really got to get like these other splits done as quick as possible if that's the case, because um, we're gonna just need more time and need more space to digest things for myself, CLT when it comes to the show, as well as just the mod team in general. So, and then the last thing, we are looking for new mods. So, if you are interested, feel free to message myself, Mage, Minus, or Havoc about that. If you message CLT, he'll let us know. Don't worry. Um,
I'll point you in the right
he'll
direction.
point you in the right direction. Uh, but yeah, so we are very, very thankful for all you guys' support. We're thankful for you guys watching the show. We're thankful for you guys being understanding, because I know you guys are when we do miss things. We appreciate it so much. Um, we would not be able to do this without all of you guys. It just wouldn't. It just wouldn't happen. So yeah, and please give us feedback. Give us ways we can continue to improve, and that's pretty much it, man. So thank you all again. Have a wonderful 2 months of relaxation. Congratulations to gamers. Congratulations to CLT for being the goat. And we'll be seeing you guys. CLT, anything?
Nah, I appreciate it.
All right, cool. Well, goodbye, guys. We'll see you soon.